Time to fuel your business success. Welcome to Harmonious at Lunch. We're bringing you bite-sized advice and expert conversations to drive clarity and growth 5 days a week. Make sure you join our Facebook group at humanopt.com/lunch, where listeners like you and our guests hang out so we can find harmony in business together. If you're building a business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
How can owning a bar make you a better CEO? And should you go out and buy one after this episode? I don't know. We're going to find out all the answers to those questions. I have a very special guest with me, Scott Greenfield. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
I have never, ever started this show with that question. It's a very unique question. Which also means you probably have a really unique and interesting background. So tell me, why does owning a bar, or how did owning a bar make you a better CEO? Where does this story begin?
The story begins actually back in college. My partners and I were all fraternity brothers back in college. It sort of happened that way. After we all left college, right after college, two of my friends decided to go into the bar business. I was actually doing a little advertising work with my father's company, and one lunch, we were doing some advertising. By the next morning, I was a part owner in a bar in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. So it was three friends getting together and sort of trying to put this sort of picture in our mind what it would be like to own and operate our own business inside of Manhattan in a bar in New York City. So I was sort of brought on as the third piece of the puzzle, and really it helped me for what my job in the bar was, really sort of helped me on the path of where put me in the spot today. But one of the greatest lessons I learned, and I'm going to answer that question you asked at the beginning, would you go out and buy a bar today? Probably not, but I would once I finish writing my book and what not to do in owning a bar in New York City. Then read that, then you can do it. But I think the greatest lessons we learned, I learned owning the bar was, and I think this is a lesson people have heard a million times, you learn a lot more in your failures than you ever do in your successes. So I think at 22, when we opened the bar, we closed it when I was 23, we were open for a year, learning to fail, learning to fall on my face, learning to have the greatest 6 months you ever seen in a bar and having the worst 6 months coming right down afterwards. You learn to be at the top, and you really learn how to fail. So I think it's one of the greatest lessons, and I'm happy I learned it very, very early, because it allowed me to sort of look at the path of failure is not a bad thing. Failure is a really good thing if you want to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's not a novel concept. There's books written on the subject, but it is an important one to drive home, because while failure sucks and nobody ever wants to fail, you don't go into something wanting to fail. It's important to just shift that mindset and say, okay, what can I learn from this? Or what have I learned from this? What am I not seeing from this experience? So it's one of those things that you have to constantly keep hearing, because no matter how many times you do it, failure always hurts to some degree. And it sounds like for you, I mean, to kind of poke fun at your story here a little bit, it sounds like every college senior's dream, right? To just continue the college experience, owning a bar, you get to drink all the time. Maybe that played a little bit of a role in your two friends' decision to open the bar. But I'm a little curious. You said the greatest 6 months and then the worst 6 months. Like, what were some of the failures in those 6 months that, looking back on it, that you can point to that was like, wow, that was it right there. That was the moment it turned and went downhill.
Started day one. I think this is a lesson in any business, especially startup, looking to exit, in the middle, what have you. Capitalization, having the right amount of capital for your business to open up, to start, to run your business, having access to where you could take advantage, where you're not scrambling. Put it this way, we opened the bar the first night, we had $1,500 left in the bank. And how we survived for 6 months, everything's COD in the first 45 days we opened the bar. How we all did it, I still don't know how we did it, but really it was capitalization. We had no money and we just scrambled. Probably lesson number one. Make sure you have enough capital, access to capital, that you can up and down, because the bar business is seasonal. In the bar business, you become hot, then you become not, and that not part is that extra 6 months. We had the greatest 6 months. We were hot, streets were busy, couldn't get down First Avenue. Two things happened. We had a very bad New Year's Eve. We didn't make the money we needed for New Year's Eve. Didn't last us into that. So that's winter season. Nobody wants to go out there in the winter, right? And we sort of were doing things we weren't supposed to do. You're not allowed to dance or have a DJ. And we had dancing and a DJ, and eventually we got in trouble for it. So that sort of started the downtick of what happened. So again, lesson number one, be capitalized. Lesson number two, know the rules of the game so you can play it correctly.
Yeah, those are probably the two most important business lessons there is. I love it. Okay, so you said there was 4 things you learned. That was number 1. All of that was about the learning from your failures. What are tell me through the next one. What was the next lesson you learned?
Relationships. How to build relationships, how to work with relationships, how to use relationships, because the bar business is all about making sure you take care of that, those regulars, so they keep coming back. Make sure working with the distributors when you have a little dispute, when you need a little bit more time, when you have a relationship, hey, give me an extra day here and there. Having that ability of working with your store owners next to you when you were busy, to making sure they're okay, really allowing you to build a business network and how to work with people. I think that's a lesson that's harder today to learn, being in the digital world, but I think truly allowed me to grow as a young, excuse my language, cocky 22-year-old coming out of college into becoming out of there where I realized that relationships were very important pieces of success, and collecting relationships in a good way would pay dividends in the future. Don't know when or how, but would.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for me because, I owned a business at a young age as well, ended up growing it successfully and selling it. Still learned a lot, but relationships was one of those things that I really began to understand the importance of when I needed favors called in. And it's you don't realize you need something until you really need it in most cases. And I to this day, I approach most relationships with a serve first mentality. I'm in a lot of networking groups, both in person and then also virtual, because that's the world we live in now. And I can't tell you how many people come into those groups and it's take, take, take. And they just want to say, who can you refer me to? Do you want to buy my stuff? I'm like, no, first of all, because I don't know you. And second of all, I would never, because that's how you're approaching people in conversations. You're approaching them as transactions. And I know from my perspective, I can call pretty much anyone who's been a guest on this show and have a good relationship just because I didn't ask them for anything. And it's not even that I'm asking for a favor, but I could call you up in 3 months and just check in on you because I genuinely care. And I can feel that you do the same in your personal relationships. It comes off of you, right? So that lesson alone, I wish more people would realize, and business would get a whole lot easier. But it's super cool that you learned that one at 22, 23 years old, because most people, I just think, never learn it.
They don't, and you get challenged from time to time. In the world, if not, if people don't see the world through your vision like that. But I'm like you. Do upon others you want to be done to you. Do good, and good should come back to you. And my career path, I'm here today because of a relationship that I made in the bar. Believe it or not, the relationship that I created in the bar through a gentleman that was, unbeknownst to me, a very successful, very well-known person in the financial world who was looking for a place to throw a holiday party. And he knew somebody that I knew, came to me. He lived on the Upper East Side. That's where I was. We connected. He had a great time. It worked out well for his company. We did it again a couple of weeks later. Everything was great. And because of that relationship, he called me a year after the bar closed, out of left field when I was living in Texas, and says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Running a door for a club in Dallas." He's like, "Can you get back to New York soon?" I said, "I'm actually coming home to go visit my mom in a week." He goes, "You own a suit?" I said, I probably could find one somewhere. He goes, come to my office. I want to show you something. I want to give you an opportunity. Okay. So unbeknownst to me, he was one of the most successful stockbrokers at that time on Wall Street. Went to his office for that day. He had 40 people working for him. And he said, I believe you'll be great. I want you to come into this business. And he goes, when could you come back to New York? And 3 months later, I was working at a very large financial company, studying for my licenses. And that was 1994. And I've been successful in this industry since then. So I owe my career back then to the relationships that I learned at the bar.
Yeah. Hey, amen. You never know what's going to happen. I love it. All right. We got 2 more tips. What's number 3?
Because of the bar closing and it like it did, and I just didn't want to be in New York anymore. I got to leave New York for the first time. And if you're a born and raised Queens kid, didn't go anywhere 50 miles out of the radius of Manhattan. Living in Dallas, living in Texas in 93, 94 was an amazing time. Huge Cowboy fan. Cowboys were winning the Super Bowls at the time as well. But
Can
really
you say that in New York? Are you okay right now?
I'm okay right now. I grew up in the 70s. I'm a 20 Dorsett fan. I'm okay with that. But living in Dallas, as that city was growing, learning just the different worlds outside of New York, I think allowed me to become even better at relationships, connections, which made me a better person when it came to more developed. So learning how people live, learning a different state, learning a different culture was really, for me, it was one of the best life lessons, was living down there. And when I came back to New York, I think I came back as a different person with much more, I hate to say worldly, because I was only moving in Texas, but different from, not as sheltered as being in New York my whole life. And I thought it allowed me to come back. And when I started doing my business in finance, I started having clients from around the country. I think it allowed me to have different conversations and different experiences, which allowed me to connect with people from different parts of the country that I don't know I could have if I didn't have the experience of living outside New York like I did.
Yeah, I shared before we started recording. I grew up in that area, Central Jersey, lived there for most of my life and moved out 2 years ago. My family, my wife's family is still up there. And yes, there is a whole world outside of Manhattan and Long Island. For those of you who don't know that,
Right.
it's a big world. It's great. You should come see it. It's amazing. Like Scott said. But yeah, if someone's listening to this, please reach out to Scott, because he said publicly he likes the Cowboys as a New Yorker on this show. So someone go check on him, please, as you're hearing this episode. So Scott, that's a huge lesson too. And it's one of those things that even if it's traveling, like I've learned that I love traveling. So even when I was living up there, I went to see mostly this country, but different cultures within the country. I went internationally a few times, and it really does change your perspective on no matter where you're from. I mean, you could be from San Francisco, but if you never leave, you're going to be so sheltered, like you said. You got to get out and see the world, and it's not enough to do it virtually and just connect with people elsewhere. You have to really immerse yourself in that culture, in that location. So that's a tip that I wish I knew younger in life, because it definitely, I don't know that I would have stayed in Jersey that long, or as long as I did. And I probably would have had so much different life and business experience moving out at a younger age. So it's a cool tip from you there. But we got to wrap this episode up. Last tip, last learning from owning a bar. What was number 4 for you?
I don't want to fail again. Failure was hard. It was a great lesson, but I really learned that I will fail again. I know that, but I looked at it in the aspect of opportunity. I never wanted an opportunity. Did I take advantage of the opportunity in the bar like I should have? No way. I was 22. I was young, didn't see the world through the lenses I see, that the old Monday morning quarterback, right? Talk about football again, right? Wish I had those. I never wanted to waste the opportunity that was ever in front of me again. And that's the lesson I learned. The bar was such an opportunity that if I would have done this right, would I have done that right? Maybe. But if I would have given it my 190%, as I do today in everything I do with my family, my business, and what have you, don't know where I probably maybe still could have been in the bar business or the restaurant business. I never wanted to have that what if again if I didn't take care of that opportunity, or I didn't take advantage of that opportunity. So that's like more of a life lessons that I try to teach my children is you will fail and we will always be there to pick you up, but never not try to get that opportunity. If you have that opportunity, really try to grab it and do whatever you can. If you fail, but give it 190%, it will never be a lesson lost. It will be a lesson earned. You go on to the next adventure.
Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom in what you just said too. And one of the things I always tell our team is I take away the word loss. I say W's and L's, wins and learns, because if you, like you said, if you give it 100%, if you know that you gave it everything, it's really not failure. It's only when you give up or you don't try as hard as you personally can, that it's truly a failure. And some things, if you don't want to give it 100%, maybe you shouldn't be doing it anyway. Like that should be a telltale sign. But if you feel called to something, if you want to succeed at something and you give it everything and it still doesn't work, that's okay. That's, like you say, lesson earned. I love how you put that there. So that's something that it's a really good lesson. Again, something I wish I learned personally way earlier in life, because it would just change the trajectory of all of the learns along the way. So Scott, I appreciate you being here. This is a good conversation. It's a good reminder too, it's a challenging landscape of business out there for a lot of people right now. And we have to keep this stuff in mind, because this is the conversation that we need to have to continue to move forward in our business, in our personal lives. And it's these little reminders that, okay, it's not all hope is lost because something's not going my way. We can get through this. We can make changes. We can learn from this. And I love having these conversations on this show. Where can the listeners go and learn more about you and how you can continue to help them?
Please visit our website, fifthavenuefinancial.com. My real passion in the world is what we're doing in the autism community. So please go visit golongforluke.org. It's our charity. We're trying to raise awareness for kids with autism. I have a soon to be 21-year-old autistic son in 2 weeks. So please visit that site as well. But, again, one last lesson I would learn is, no matter what you do, no matter what you do in business or in your personal life, bring the passion. You bring the passion, you cannot fail.
Amen to that. Scott, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it.
For those of you watching and listening, we got Fifth Avenue Financial on the screen. All of the links that were mentioned down below in the show notes. Make sure to go check those out. Thanks for being here. I hope to see you back tomorrow on another episode of Harmonious at Lunch.
Another episode of Harmonious at Lunch in the books. I hope this episode made you think and you grabbed some actionable ideas to propel your business. Don't forget to like, comment your takeaways, and subscribe wherever you're listening so we can help more entrepreneurs just like you achieve harmony in their life and business. For cutting-edge tools that bring clarity